Welcome back. This afternoon, you're listening to the Todd Laborowitz Show, Real Estate Radio on Salem Broadcast Network, WRC 1260 AM. I am your host, Todd Laborowitz, and here with me now in the studio is Karen Alegi with Alegi Anderson. She is our attorney for the show for family law, and the topic we're going to go over today is special needs trust. Now, Karen, what exactly is the definition of special needs trust?
Well, Todd, first I want to say thanks for having me on again. I appreciate being here. A special needs trust is a particular kind of trust that some people need when either currently or sometime in the future they're going to need to apply for government assistance. The most common form of government assistance that we find when people need a special needs trust is when they're applying for Medicaid. So Medicaid is medical assistance that is run by the states. So in Maryland, we call it Maryland Medical Assistance. And that's for when people, either because of a disability, can't afford their own medical assistance, so they actually apply for public assistance through the state. But that is limited based on your income. So you have to qualify by having a physical or mental disability, as well as having limited financial means.
Okay, now let me try to draw a picture here with what you just said.
Sure.
So is it the parents or is it the person with the disabilities putting this together?
Well, it depends on the age of the person, but you're right, Todd. You could have an adult disabled person. You could also have a child with special needs who's disabled. Usually you're talking about an adult disabled person because children that are disabled typically can get health insurance through their parents.
Okay.
Or through some other private means.
So you have an adult with disability.
Correct. And due to age, they're no longer eligible to be covered under their parents or their parents' medical plans. So if they didn't qualify for Medicaid, they would be in the private market. But these individuals also don't have a lot of income or assets, so they can't afford it in the private market.
So when they become of age, they basically turn over to Medicaid.
True, right. So, and depending on age, depending on the kind of plan that the parent has, at some point they're going to age out of that plan, and essentially they're going to have to apply for public medical benefits.
Okay. But when they do that, the special needs trust, I'm thinking like of a family trust. Is it the same?
Well, it is a little different. The times when individuals are going to find that they need this kind of trust is when they're trying to apply for this medical assistance, but they have some form of either income or assets. So they have money coming in from some source that disqualifies them for the medical assistance. You have to have very limited income and assets. So you have to be under a certain amount of a threshold, a monthly threshold for the income, and a dollar figure for assets. An example is maybe somebody bought a bunch of savings bonds for someone when they were a child. Now they're 30, they're disabled, and they want to apply for medical assistance, but they have $10,000 in savings bonds. Those savings bonds are an asset of that person. When they fill out the financial form for medical assistance and they say that they have $10,000 in savings bonds, they're going to get denied for medical assistance. But this individual they have no other source of health care. So the federal government has carved out this special kind of trust that you could actually keep those assets in a special needs trust, so that the disabled person still gets the benefit of those funds. They're still there for that person's needs and support, but they can qualify for medical assistance.
Okay. Well, by the way, if you're just tuning in, I have with me Karen Alegi with Alegi Anderson, our attorney about family law, and we're talking about special needs trust. I'm your host, Todd Laborowitz, and you're listening to Salem Broadcast Network, WRC 1260 AM. So the way you're explaining it is, it's kind of like the trust is its own entity. It has its own birthday. It has its own EIN number, says a social security number. They're transferring the asset over where it's being managed, but it's out of their name so they can get insurance.
Correct. That's fine to think of it that way. You are naming, any trust has somebody named as a trustee. Obviously, this is not the disabled person themselves. This typically is a parent or a sibling, or somebody else that's entrusted with this responsibility to actually manage the money, whether it's a bank account or investments or savings bonds. The trustee is actually responsible for paying bills, writing out this money. You're not giving money directly to the disabled person, but you're paying for things that they need that's not paid for by the public assistance that they're on, okay? So you name a first trustee, you name a second trustee. The reason why the federal government has allowed these kinds of trusts to exist and still allowed people to get public benefits, even though they may have another source of income or assets, is because when it's the disabled person's own money that's funding this trust, there's something called a payback provision, which is if when the disabled person dies, this trust is going to be liquidated. If there's any money left, that money first has to pay back the state for the medical assistance that was paid to that person while they were alive. So the state gets to recoup some of its money if there's anything left in this trust when the disabled person dies. So they're taking a little bit of a risk there. But you can understand why. At least the disabled person, while they're living, still has the benefit of this money or this income, but there is that payback provision. Now, this doesn't apply if some other family member wants to put some of their own money away for this person and for their benefit. They can certainly do that, but there's no payback provision. Okay, so there's a difference whether the money is the disabled person's own money from some source, or if it's somebody else's money and they just want to set up a trust for that person's benefit, they can do that. It's a little different, but there's no payback provision. It still has to be done a certain way, so you're not disqualifying them for benefits, but there isn't that payback provision.
So the one that doesn't have the payback provision, is that like the revocable or non-revocable or irrevocable trust?
No, you're kind of going into a different area there.
Okay.
It's still can be called a special needs trust, or it's also sometimes referred to as a supplemental needs trust, because if you think about it, it's paying for the additional needs of the person, not their basic needs that the public assistance is paying for, like the medical assistance or room and board. It pays for everything else, which could be travel, iTunes, extra groceries, something like that, things that aren't covered by the public assistance. So it's your extra needs. So if the reason why if there's people out there that are filling out applications for medical assistance or other public benefits, and it's based on need, and the individual that needs the funds is disabled, that's probably a situation where they're going to need a special needs trust if they are over the income or asset limitations of that program.
Perfect. It's the first time I ever heard of this.
Yeah, it is. Actually, it's relatively new in the sense that the federal government only carved out these special needs trusts about 20 years ago. So it is somewhat new, and in the state planning business, 20 years is new. And I know I've been trying to spread the word about them myself, for a number of years now. And a lot more folks are finding that they need it as people age out of their own private health care.
Perfect. Well, thanks for sharing that with us.
Mm-hmm.
What I'd like to offer you, our listeners, is a chance to get in touch with Karen at Alegi Anderson to discuss this special needs trust. And you can call us or email or text us at 301-467-8444. That number again is 301-467-8444. Or go to our website and you got Karen Alegi right there. Well, Karen, thank you so much for being here. I really appreciate it. Karen Alegi, she is our estate planning attorney for the show.
Mm-hmm.
And coming up next, we got Jim Musgrave, who's with Research Financial Strategies. We're going to be talking about pension plans, retirement, and paying off your debt.
All right.
Some good topics.
Thanks, Todd.
Thank you.